Counting down to bowl season on Locked On Hawkeyes, we talked to a former Hawkeye. LeShun Daniels today stops by. What is a bowl trip like for the players? We'll get into that. Of course, recruiting signing day a couple of days back. Some of LeShun and my favorite prospects. And we make some bowl picks presented by FanDuel. LeShun got me in the regular season. Let's see if I can bounce back here during bowl time.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I'm Trent Condon. He's LeShun Daniels, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. While you're there, hit that subscribe button. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, as we get ready for Christmas, LeShun, it is also bowl season. And the opening of bowl season hasn't exactly been exciting. In fact, the most football that I've watched, college football, since bowl games have began, has come in the FCS playoffs. I watched North Dakota State, Montana. That was a great game. Even Friday night in a blowout, watching South Dakota State and how good that program has built themselves into, champions a couple of years back. It's been more FCS for me than the bowl games. It'll get a little bit better as we get to the weekend. We got Northwestern out there against Utah in the Vegas Bowl. It gets a little bit better, but boy, for me, just as a fan, bowl season kind of lost some luster. How about for you?
Yeah, I agree. The FCS, first off, with FCS playoffs has been great. It's always great. Just knowing what's on the line, and all those teams get a chance at a national title. I really think it's a really entertaining product. And then now with the way how bowl games are, the fact that there's first off so many bowl games, and then you take into account the transfer portal and guys opting out and things of that nature. Like you don't get the type of games like that you have come to expect over, my time. I'm not as old as everybody else, but over my time of watching bowl games and even participating in bowl games, even though the ones that I did participate, they weren't the best. But overall, it just feels like, yeah, bowl season has lost a little bit of luster, but there's going to be some good games, especially as you get later in the bowl season, and to provide some pretty entertaining entertainment. But yeah, FCS playoffs, if you haven't been tuned in there, that's been a great watch if you love football.
Yeah, you mentioned it. It didn't go very well. I was kind of looking back and during your time period, there's some ugly ones in there. The last time I saw Tennessee in the Tax Slayer Bowl after the 2015 season, the Rose Bowl. We know how that one went. Would have been nice if Christian McCaffrey would have sat out that bowl game as opposed to the following season in that one. Not sure if it was going to matter on that day, but what is it like?
You are Locked On Hawkeyes.
Whoa. Wrong button. What is it like, though, for you guys as you're getting ready, you're departing, it's going to be there. We talked about what you do, the bowl prep, and for young guys, just how important that is. Guys that have been running scout team and actually get to run your own offense and defense and do those kind of things. But for the guys that are out there getting ready to play, they got some time off now. Just what the bowl destination and everything's like kind of leading into when you guys depart.
Yeah. So as we talked about a little bit on the pod before, going into like right after the season ends, you got finals week. You gotta get some time to kind of let your body recover. So you're usually in the training room a lot, or you're with the strength coaches, whether that doing some lifting, some conditioning, just some stuff just to help get your body back in prime shape after dealing with a season of battering with other teams and other players. So usually as a guy that's getting ready to play, it's just focusing on getting your body back. Whereas, some of the younger guys, developmental guys, you're focusing on running your offense, improving, putting yourself in a position to be able to have an opportunity to get some snaps, maybe even in a bowl game, especially now, like with the new red shirt rules, and then put yourself in a position in the springtime to go ahead and show the coaches that, yeah, I am a player, I am able to play at this level. And then as you get closer to the bowl games, typically my entire time we played on New Year's Day or around New Year's Day, usually they don't let you go home for Christmas or the holiday season, which kind of sucks. But it is nice being around your teammates and people you spend a lot of time with, so you don't feel totally alone and whatnot. But especially like for young players, you typically are going to miss your family a bunch during that time. But as you get to your later years, you adjust to it, and then like you'll see them after the bowl game. And then going into the trip, usually we leave about a week before the game. So around Christmas Eve is typically like when we're going to head out. We'll have a practice. Coach Ferentz will bring out the Santa hat and whatnot, which is always fun. But we'll have a good practice. We'll probably do some 9-on-7, some short yardage, some physical stuff before you get on the flight, because it's going to be a couple of days before you get back on the practice field again. And then you get down to your destination, and first off, you're always hoping that it's a warm destination. Like you always want it to be someplace south or wherever, because being in Iowa, especially in December, is not a fun time, or really winter in general. So you're always hoping for that warm destination, and then you usually get about a day to kind of wander around, do different things and whatnot, before you really start getting into your weekly game week prep. And then depending upon the bowl destination, there's going to be different types of bowl events. Like for the Rose Bowl, we had like a million different things that we had to be a part of, as a team and whatnot. And then so it wasn't as much of like free time just to roam LA. But whereas maybe like the Outback Bowl, there's going to be a couple of things where you're going to have a little bit more time to kind of do your thing. So that's really what it's like with the bowl trips and leading to it. And obviously there's more than that, but that's just kind of like the short and sticky version of it.
So you guys go to a bowl game, you're getting practice, there's a game. We know that even today, Kirk Ferentz puts a ton of emphasis on bowl games. They're important. They're important to him, and he's old school, and he's not one of the coaches that just treat it as an exhibition. He wants to win this game and put this team in rarefied air, winning 11 games in a season, something that has not been something that's done a whole lot in Iowa football history. But you're going to be able to do a little bit more. I mean, how much leeway do you guys get? I remember an Outback Bowl well before you were around, LeShun, back after the 2003 season, seeing a lot of the guys having a really good time the night after the game and hoisted a few beers with those guys. But what is it like, kind of, how much flexibility do you guys have, at least before the game?
Yeah. So say like if we get like, so game week prep doesn't really start until I think it's like about like 5 days, before the game. So usually you get there about a week before. So you got like a day to kind of do your thing. Like obviously like you get there, you get checked in, you have a couple team meetings and whatnot, you kind of go over rules, like, okay, this is what you can't do, blah, blah, blah. And then like first couple nights, yeah, you're gonna have it would be like a regular, like a weekend curfew. So typically our curfew was 1 a.m. You had to be back into your room and not out and about, or you got in trouble for obviously. And then there was usually, whenever we were at these destinations, like, there are usually shuttles, especially like if we had like free time, like a bunch of free time. We'd have shuttles specifically for us that we could take to go do whatever, whether you want to go to the mall or you want to go out or do whatever. Like you had opportunities to do that. Like the first like couple days that you get there, and then as you get into the game week prep, you don't really have as much free time during the evening, because you got to be back in your rooms a little bit earlier. But typically, like a lot of times, like we would have like all of our stuff in the morning. So you would have we'd have our practices, we'd have our meetings, and then like kind of like the afternoons, like you'd have an opportunity to kind of venture around the city and hang out and stuff like that, which was nice. It was definitely nice because, again, it's not necessarily a vacation, because you're still there to win a football game, and it does matter. Every opportunity that you get to play a football game should be treasured, because you only get so many. So it is important to know that we are still there to win a football game, but they know that after a long season, players definitely do deserve to have some time to do some things on their own, take advantage of the site and whatnot. And then we also got bowl gifts, which were also pretty nice.
Yeah.
benefit to that. But we know that we're there to win a football game, and the practices are treated that way to let the players know, like, hey, we're here to win a football game, not just to be on vacation and enjoy the sights without worrying about the football game. So.
And then afterwards, you can have some fun.
Yeah. It's definitely better. Like if you win, for sure. Unfortunately, we didn't get that, but hey, it is what it is. You can't sulk over it too much, but it is really crazy. Like it was like literally the following year they got back on the bowl game winning streak, but they were in New York and it was cold there. So.
Well, what's better, a win in New York at the Pinstripe Bowl or a loss in Tampa? I think you'd argue both sides, right?
Yeah, you can definitely argue both sides there, but yeah, they're definitely there to win a football game, and it's really important to Coach Ferentz to go out there and play well. So.
Recruiting class is in for the class of 2024. Everybody aside on the dotted line. Iowa with a little bit of a roster crunch, some potential guys coming back for that super senior year. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about our guys, and LeShun gets a shout out in the press conference, and an equation to one of the incoming running backs to LeShun back in the day. We'll do that as we continue Locked On Hawkeyes. Today's episode of the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast is brought to you by the Gametime app. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets for your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. I've used Gametime. Went up to a Twins playoff game back during the fall. Simple, easy, and I love the ability to know exactly where your seat's going to be and what your view is going to be for the game. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first order. Terms apply. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Trent Condon, LeShun Daniels back with you again on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. As always, thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. LeShun, recruiting, it is in the books, and there might be some additional additions to the 2024 class. Not very likely, though. They're in a roster crunch. They're over the scholarship limit, or very close to it right now. Plus, you have the potential of a lot of guys coming back for another year, from Nick Jackson to Jay Higgins, Quinn Schulte, one of those guys on the list. You just go on and on. There's a whole bunch of people. Obviously, Cooper DeJean, Luke Lachey, what their decisions are going to be. So there's a lot out there. It appears that there are not going to be a whole lot more, at least as it pertains to the freshman class, and with it, likely much in the transfer portal. But that aside, talk about these guys a little bit, kind of what we've seen. We'll start with your position, obviously running back, and got a chuckle listening to Tyler Barnes. All of a sudden, he throws out LeShun Daniels and the making the same. I see it too. He's a little bigger than you were, obviously, coming out of high school, but he's got that physicality, and you got the thunder and lightning combo, right, with him and Brevin Dahl. But your thoughts of what you've seen from Xavier Williams from out of Indiana?
Yeah, so I see, for starters, it's always great when people give you a shout out. It's always great feeling. It means that you did a lot of things really, really well. So always makes you feel good. But when you look at a guy like Xavier, he does remind me of me. I mean, he's a bigger guy, runs with great power, but something that you might not think of a guy, with our size in general, is that their quickness in the hole and their feet in the hole, being able to, kind of slide and find those gaps, and then when you do see those gaps, you're able to hit it at 1,000,000 miles per hour with physicality to break tackles and create explosive runs. And I think those are some things that he's done. He does extremely, extremely well when you go ahead and you look at his tape. And then when you look at the flip side and you look at a guy like Brevin, who is fast guy, fast. I mean, it jumps out on tape, and I mean, he's pulling away from guys left and right, people that have angles. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't doesn't get caught in the open field. And when you have those type of combinations of players in your backfield, it makes your team better because again, you're able to go ahead and you can pound a defense, for 4 quarters for all 60 minutes. Get them tired of tackling, and then you bring in a guy that's got electrifying, you know, game speed. So when you combine those two type of players in the backfield, I think that's where you can have a ton of success. And I think Iowa has had a ton of success in the run game in the past. Relying on that type of strategy in the backfield. Some of their best rushing teams, like those are some qualities that the backfield has had, and so I'm super excited for these guys to get to Iowa and get to work. And you never know with recruits, but with Iowa, they do a really good job of getting their type of people in the building and their type of guys that are gonna have at least have a chance at success here at the University of Iowa. So super excited for those two guys.
Another guy really intriguing, a big offensive line class. They brought in a bunch of prospects, a bunch of them also from Illinois. I got Cody Fox here from locally, a guy that had some big programs coming after him. He'd been recruited and had been verbally committed since his freshman campaign. But guy from just down the street from you over in Arlington Heights, Will Nolan, is at least at On3 Media. He is the top-ranked guy there. Had offers Minnesota, Vandy, Illinois, Syracuse, Duke, Iowa State, Indiana, amongst the offers there. But sounds like one of those multiple guys. 6'6", 275, and it's time to get that butt kicker right on that offensive line. Hopefully Nolan can be one of many up front.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. I mean, so you look at him, he's got great size. And he got some athleticism to him. And those are the type of things that I feel like that we really need on the offensive line. And again, with offensive linemen at Iowa, you never really know who's going to end up being a star. I mean, you got guys over. I mean, in my class, for example, that played tight end in high school and end up becoming pretty good offensive linemen. So you never really know. But when you can get prospects like that, you can get guys that have that elite size that played at a high level in high school. You're hoping to translate that to the college level. Being a guy that you can rely on that offensive line to be a cornerstone, for years to come. And that's the type of potential that you see in a guy like that. So you never really know how offensive lineman is going to pan out. I feel like that's probably like the toughest one to figure out when it comes to recruiting. But it is always encouraging when you can get top flight prospect guys like that in your building, especially at offensive line factory like Iowa. And you hopefully that a guy like that can continue to bring on that Iowa football tradition of being a mauler on the offensive line and bringing back the offensive line play that we are accustomed to seeing.
Quarterback with some speed. James Rezar comes in from down in Jacksonville, Florida. Families from the upper Midwest. Wisconsin is where they grew up there. But a guy with some wheels. I guess the concern is accuracy, and that has showed up at the high school level. But now we've seen it a couple of different times. They got the class of 2025 already set with the quarterback in Jimmy Sullivan. Last year with Marco Lainez, a guy that can move a little bit. Now Rezar, maybe the fastest of the bunch. That's intriguing at the very least.
Yeah, it's intriguing. I mean, you look at some of the best teams that we've had over Coach Ferentz's tenure, and I feel like one of the traits of those teams is the fact that you have a quarterback that is mobile and able to create things with his feet, and not necessarily you don't have to be a complete the explosive guy like Brad Banks, but you've got guys like CJ who can create and extend on a bunch of plays with their legs and then still create opportunities with the ball downfield. Like those are things that have had success. They created success, offensive success for Iowa in the past, and it's good to see them starting to kind of get back to that mode of recruiting when it comes to the quarterback position. And you never really know how they'll turn out. Obviously, you've had a bunch of quarterbacks over the past couple of years that probably haven't panned out the way that we had been hoping that they would. But when you've got guys with mobility in their legs and can create and extend plays, like those are things that can help the offense get back to more of a standard that we're hoping for to go along with our great defense. So it's super intriguing, and it's not every day that you get a quarterback in your building that can run 10, 6, and 100. So you can get a guy like that, you'll take it every single time.
No doubt about it. All right, LeShun. One final guy, and we did get a guy from Ohio, so I know that always makes your ears perk up when you hear that. Jalen Watson, a cornerback from over in Toledo, a guy that put up big numbers offensively, but didn't play a whole bunch of defense, went to camp, and Phil Parker, I think, fell in love with him and what he can do. A guy with ball skills at cornerback. We know that's what Phil Parker likes.
Yeah, Bill Parker loves it. And every time I always gas up, every time I have opportunity to gas up kids from Ohio, I do it. And especially with him coming from an extremely good football program in Central Catholic over there in Toledo. I mean, they're really, really good on a year in, year out basis. So that they're coached really well. They play extremely good football there. So I'm sure when Coach Parker had an opportunity to see him in camp, he's just like, okay, yeah, like this is going to be my guy. He might not be too known defensively yet, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to coach him up and we're going to get him right. So you're super excited. I'm super excited about that. And to add to more of the Ohio guys on the Iowa roster. So it's definitely an intriguing move. And it's just one of those things that Iowa does. You look at a guy and they've been playing in a certain position in high school, and then you look at them more and you're like, you're going to play this position and you're going to be, a great player doing this, even though it hasn't been what you're expecting. So super excited for his development. And anytime you get an opportunity to get coached by Coach Parker, it's going to be usually going to be a good thing. So.
No doubt about it. We've definitely seen that throughout his tenure, both as a defensive back coach and now as a defensive coordinator. LeShun, we'll come back, and I got to get some redemption here. You throttled me during the regular season. I came back, made it tight at the end, but you got me in the final week of the season. Our picks contest presented by FanDuel. We will make them 5 bowl games coming up over the next week. We'll make our picks as we continue. This is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. That's right. Don't have to worry about the point spread. Don't have to worry about any of that. All it is a team to win. They could be a huge favorite. They win the game, that's $150 in your account. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use and a wide range of betting options, not just the spreads and the over-unders. They have player props. You can put together same-game parlays, a futures market that is as good as anywhere that you're going to find. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season as we go into the final 3 weeks of the regular season. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Trent Condon, LeShun Daniels back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. It is time for our picks. We got 5 games here. We got a little Big Ten flavor to it. We got some good games as we make our way through the week. I decided not to just do like 5 games from Saturday because, LeShun, there's a bunch of yuck on there. But one of the games on Saturday is the Las Vegas Bowl. There is some time. I very much hope the Hawkeyes are there. I love Las Vegas and would love to see the Hawkeyes playing in Sin City. Northwestern gets the call, though, for this one against Utah. Kyle Whittingham, great in bowl games, but he's got a lot of guys that are not part of it. What do you see as the Utes are favored by 6.5?
Yeah, I don't think Utah probably had the season that they were hoping to have, especially with them offensively, struggling a little bit at times. They I think they battled all year, but all in all, just didn't have the year that they were expecting. Whereas Northwestern, you didn't really know what to expect. I expected them to be, probably one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, but lo and behold, they went and kind of proved everybody wrong. They've done a great job with them, and they finished off the season extremely strong. And because of that reason, I kind of like Northwestern to cover. They have been playing good football to finish the season, and there was just a lot of just kind of up and downs with Utah this season, and it just kind of feels like they almost felt like, all right, let's just get this over with. Let's just kind of get to next season. So give me the Wildcats on that.
I'm right there with you. And, a big part of the handicap now that you have to do for these bowl games is who's going to be there, right? Who's going to be playing. Now, we know that Cam Rising is going to be back for another season with Utah next season, but the backups, the guys that played throughout the course of the year, they're not going to be around. There is a whole lot of opt-outs there. And you kind of look through the list here, and it is immense. And for that reason, I'm with you on Northwestern. Nate Johnson, their quarterback, Bryson Barnes, the backup. Both those guys are in the portal. Now, Barnes is going to play in the game for Utah. And on the other side, Northwestern's got a couple of guys that are even in the portal. Only one of them, an offensive lineman, played a whole lot this season. So I'm going to grab the points. I'm with you. Motivation there. I think Utah does win the game, but I think we get a good one. And I think that's all you can hope for in a bowl game. Pick number 2, it is also on Saturday. It is Air Force against James Madison. JMU was one of the stories of college football throughout the course of the season, trying to get the waiver in the Armed Forces Bowl. You got to take Air Force, right? Plus the departure of the head coach for Indiana from James Madison, as Kurt Cinetti will not be there with the Dukes. I'm going to grab Air Force. I think they win this game outright.
This is tough. This is a tough one on me. I like Air Force a bunch. They didn't finish the year that they really wanted to. Started the year strong, but didn't finish strong. Whereas, JMU, they're strong throughout the entire year and then lost a tough one to Appalachian State in like overtime. So they think they're a good football team. It's tough when you lose your coach. But I don't know. I like the way that they're playing, and with the line being as small as it is, I honestly just like JMU on this one. So
going with James Madison. All right, our first disagreement there. Let's go next to the day after Christmas. Detroit for Christmas time. Is there anything better? Well, for a Phil Flex program, I'm completely happy with that. They got Cole Kramer that they allegedly gave $30,000 to play in this bowl game as he was departing. Kalkmanis is in the transfer portal. He'll be leaving. They're looking for new quarterbacks. We'll see Darius Taylor if he's going to play this season. They're outstanding on running back. What's going to happen there? Tyler Nubin, their great safety, who might be a first rounder. I think that he would be sitting out of this one. But if there's one guy that can motivate his team with a whole bunch of crap, and that is the case for Minnesota, it's that idiot Phil Fleck. Because of that, I'll lay it. Give me Minnesota minus the 3.5.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. Bowling Green, they battled throughout the year, finished the year pretty strong. I think won like 4 out of their last 5. But all in all, I think Minnesota's just a better team, and PJ Flex is going to be able to motivate the guys. Whoever happens to show up for them, even though it's Detroit in December, which I mean it's going to be brutal, but I think PJ Fleck does a great job of motivating his team and gets them up at any opportunity. So give me the Gophers on this one. We'll see if they disappoint me.
Bad Boy Mowers, a Pinstripe Bowl. Miami is going to New York City. You played in this game, LeShun. You know about it. Both teams have some injuries, some opt-outs, including Rutgers, their best defensive back, and Max Belton will not be playing in this game. They got a bunch of other guys in the portal. Miami will be playing without Tyler Van Dyke, their quarterback, who's moving on to Wisconsin. A bunch of dudes opting out here. I think the narrative for a lot of people is going to be Miami, cold weather, no chance. I'd still give me the Hurricanes. I'll take Miami in a flyer here and probably look like an idiot because I don't think those guys will want to be in the cold, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, Miami had some good games throughout the year. I mean, they played a lot of their ranked opponents extremely tough this year. Whereas, Rutgers, it seemed like they would play their teams tough and then just fall off at the end of the game and just end up getting, blown out. So I like Miami a lot more in this than I do Rutgers, but I mean, really, it really is a toss up. But I like Miami. They played tough the entire season, and every single ranked opponent that they played, I feel like they had an opportunity to beat them. So give me the Hurricanes in this one.
All right, we wrap things up with one of the more intriguing non-power bowls out there, the Elmo Bowl. Arizona is such a fun story as they just continue to get better and better as the season went on against Oklahoma. Your choice first up on this one. Should be a fun game down in San Antonio.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. This will be a fun one. And I think it's going to be really, really close. I do think Arizona will pull it off just because I feel like the way that they finished the season this year, I think was phenomenal. I mean, they did an extremely good job defensively, and then was able to obviously score enough on offense to keep themselves in a position to pull out these games. But Oklahoma, I can never really count Oklahoma out of anything, even with some guys moving on in the transfer portal. I just something about Oklahoma that I like about them, and I feel like they'll definitely be able to keep this one close, and not let Arizona kind of pull away on this one. So give me the Sooners some points.
Grabbing Oklahoma plus the 3. I will do the same. Jackson Arnold, who we've heard a ton about, he's going to get the start here with Dillon Gabriel on his way over to Oregon. There's a reason Dillon Gabriel entered the transfer portal. Payday, yes, but Jackson Arnold is going to be there. I think we're going to find out a whole lot about him. I'm with you. Give me the Sooners as we agree with our final pick. Those are our picks presented by FanDuel, as we will make some more coming up next week as we get into bigger and bigger bowl games, and including, of course, Iowa as they get ready for Tennessee. Merry Christmas, LeShun. We'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Go Hawks.
You are